Discover 7 incredible and touching transformations that changed love in the Middle Ages forever. Anna Sullivan sat at her cluttered dining room table, balancing lesson plans and the endless whirlwind of parenting. The late afternoon sun streamed through the window, illuminating her children's finger paintings. With her husband deployed overseas, every day felt like a mountain to climb. At 32, Anna embodied resilience, determined to keep her family together while juggling a demanding teaching job. As she flipped through her planner, she stumbled upon a flyer that caught her attention, a local initiative aimed at helping families impacted by military service. She felt a spark of hope ignite within her. In a town filled with familiar faces, the thought of lending a hand felt like a lifeline. The allure of community connection wrapped around her like a warm hug. She envisioned herself standing at the forefront of change, making a real difference for families like hers. Anna signed up, her heart racing with anticipation. She quickly met Michael, a veteran struggling with the weight of PTSD. His haunted eyes held stories of sacrifice that resonated with her. They both carried burdens, heavy but invisible. Their friendship blossomed like spring flowers breaking through winter's frost. Together, they organized events to raise awareness about the struggles veterans face. But as they rallied for the cause, murmurs of discontent began to rise from the town's shadows. Some neighbors saw Michael not as a hero, but as a broken man, vulnerable and unsafe, echoing their deep-seated fears. Anna's heart ached with indignation. She wasn't just fighting for Michael, she was fighting for her children's future, a world where compassion prevailed over prejudice. Then, whispers about Michael's past reached her ears, carried by tongues eager to judge. Anna found herself torn. She wanted to protect Michael from their scrutiny, yet her children were a priority too. The annual town fundraiser was fast approaching, and tension hung thick in the air like a storm cloud. As Anna prepared to speak, she wished for clarity. She wanted to unite, not divide. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the fundraiser arrived, a gathering meant to celebrate community. But the night spiraled into chaos. Michael's emotional breakdown shocked everyone, raw and unfiltered. Anna felt the wind knocked out of her as silence followed his cries. Staring into the faces of her neighbors, she felt desperation clawing at her. At the next council meeting, Anna stood, trembling but resolute. Each word poured out of her like the tears in her eyes. She spoke of understanding how their treatment of Michael reflected a deeper truth about love and acceptance. In that moment, vulnerability found a voice, pleading for compassion in a fractured society. Anna's words hung heavy in the air. The townsfolk, once rigid in their bias, shifted uncomfortably. But just as acceptance flickered like a candle, a few remained unmoved, stubbornly clinging to their judgments. The tension was palpable. Would the town's unity unravel, leaving both Anna and Michael exposed? Or could they find a way to stand together against the tide of prejudice? The crossroads loomed ahead, the echoes of Anna's vulnerable plea still resonating in the hearts of those who dared to listen. The council meeting felt like a great clock waiting to strike midnight, each second a weight of uncertainty. Anna stood at the front, clutching the podium as if it were the only thing anchoring her to the ground. The buzz of murmurs washed over her, a tidal wave of doubt threatening to pull her under. She caught Michael's eye across the room. He nodded, a silent reassurance that he was right there with her, and it steadied her heart. Then, just as she was about to sit down, an elderly woman at the back stood up. "Anna," she called, her voice shaking like the leaves of a tree in a storm. "Don't you ever worry about how your children will turn out?" The question rang in the air, heavy and sharp. Anna felt the heat rise within her. This was the very fear she had wrestled with. She squared her shoulders, determined to face the storm. "I worry every day," she admitted, her voice firm. But I also believe that this world doesn't have to be filled with hate. We can teach our children empathy. We can show them how to love despite the challenges. Isn't that what we want for them? A few heads nodded, but others remained unmoved, faces set like stone. Anna's pulse quickened. She pressed on. We can't close our hearts just because we're afraid. One man in the corner crossed his arms defiantly. And what about the safety of our families? We can't just trust anyone who has been through things we can't understand. Her insides churned. Was it just about safety? Or were they afraid of being touched by the pain of others? Trust is built through understanding, she replied. Michael is not just a veteran with PTSD, he is a father, a brother, a friend. Just like each of you. The murmurs faded. Anna could see the cracks forming in their walls of prejudice. Some looked at Michael, sitting quietly behind her, his face a mixture of hope and fear. Then, unexpectedly, another voice rose. It was a local teenager, someone Anna had taught years ago. My dad is a veteran too, she called out, her tone trembling. I see what he goes through. I know it's not easy. But he needs people to help him. Just like Michael does. There was a shift in the room, a collective inhalation of realization. If a young girl could find the courage to speak out, surely adults could find the humanity to listen. Anna's heart swelled. This was the unity she had envisioned, a moment where they could all bridge the great divide together. There were still skeptics in the room, but now the numbers were dwindling. She turned to Michael once more, her strength growing from his presence. Please, she implored. Let us show everyone that love is stronger than fear. We can band together as a community, extend our hands to those who need it. Let us be the example our children deserve. As her words settled, she could see the change taking root, like the first buds of spring after a long winter. It could still go either way. The room stirred with an undercurrent of debate, intentions shifting like shadows. What if the townsfolk chose compassion over fear? What if they started to truly embrace each other's struggles? But as she glimpsed magic crackling in the air, doubt resurfaced. Would she have enough support to turn the tide? Out of the corner of her eye, Anna noticed a figure approach Michael. It sent chills down her spine. It was Tom, the town's biggest critic of the initiative, the man whose harsh voice had sent ripples of hate through the community. What was he going to say? She held her breath, awaiting the next moment that could define not just the meeting, but the future of her town. Tom's advance was slow and deliberate, as if each step cost him something. The room held its breath, a heavy silence blanketing the council hall like a snow-laden sky. Anna's palms felt clammy on the podium. She felt Michael tense behind her, a palpable mix of uncertainty and hope radiating from him. Anna, Tom began, his voice low but carrying the weight of his years in the town. I don't agree with everything you say. That much is clear. But he seemed to falter, the defiance melting into something softer, something human. His gaze drifted to Michael. What you're trying to do here with him, it's noble. But it's not without its risks. A few murmurs echoed across the room. The skepticism hadn't vanished entirely, but the atmosphere was shifting like a tide that couldn't be held back. Tom, Anna interjected cautiously, every choice we make in life comes with risks. What's important is how we choose to face those risks together. At that, Tom took a deep breath, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Yeah, I get that. It's just he paused, seemingly wrestling with his words. I've seen too many good people hurt. I've lost too many friends who went to war, and they came back changed. I don't want that for anyone else. I thought keeping the walls up protected us. Anna felt a pang in her heart. This was the place where compassion and fear collided. But those walls can isolate us, she urged gently, her voice steady. It's not just about keeping hurt out. It's also about keeping love in those connections that weave our community together. Tom glanced at Michael again. A flicker of understanding began to form in his eyes. A bridge was building, piece by piece. Yet he still seemed hesitant, caught in the weight of old wounds. "Maybe you're right," he finally conceded, though the resistance still wrapped around his words like a familiar shawl. "But can we really trust someone like him? Or will he hurt someone else?" Michael, until now a quiet observer, shifted forward slightly. "I'm here to heal. Not just myself, but also those around me," he said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "Trust is a two-way street. I promise to prove myself to you, to all of you. I can't change what I've gone through, but I want to show you that there's hope for all our futures." The tension in the room eased just a little. Anna could feel it, a gentle loosening of the knots of doubt. A few more voices started to echo the sentiment of trust. She watched as others rose from their seats, ready to offer their support, sharing personal stories of struggle and resilience that broke down barriers between them. Tom remained standing, conflicted but visibly moved. "You know, I lost my son in a war. He was brave, but he came back damaged. His voice cracked, exposing a vulnerability that resonated in every heart. I don't want anyone else to feel that pain." Anna took a step closer. "This is a chance for all of us to understand that fear can't overshadow our compassion. Let us work through this together." As the group began to murmur in agreement, Anna felt a swell of hope rise within her. Could they really mend the fractures that had grown over the years? Could they transform fear into understanding, pain into healing? Just as light began to pierce through the lingering shadows, Tom slowly extended his hand toward Michael. Anna held her breath, she could feel the room waiting. Would they take that leap into trust? The moment felt electric, thick with anticipation. Both men stood there as eyes turned toward them, binding the future of the town into this one pivotal gesture. What would happen if they dared to reach for something they thought was lost? Anna's heart raced with possibility, balancing on the edge of a new chapter. Would they come together, or would fear hold them back once again? The silence was deafening, filled with a tension that crackled through the air like static. All eyes locked onto Tom and Michael as the weight of the moment hung between them. Time seemed to stretch, pulling everyone into that single heartbeat where nothing else mattered. Tom's hand hovered above Michael's, a fragile bridge of hope formed by the barest of gestures. Seconds felt like hours as Anna's heart thundered against the confines of her chest. Would fear pull them apart, or would courage bind them together? Slowly, Tom lowered his hand, fingers finally meeting Michael's in a tentative shake. A collective gasp resonated through the council hall. It was more than a handshake, it was a promise. The room erupted into murmurs, a swell of relief and curiosity washing over the crowd. Anna could see surprise lighting up faces, windows of hopes cracked open ever so slightly. Tom's voice broke the spell. "I'm not saying it's going to be easy," he admitted, his voice still unsteady but no longer weighed down by a fog of bitterness. "But maybe it's time to try." Anna stepped forward, feeling the warmth of this fragile connection. "It's a start," she said, while glancing at Michael, who stood grounded but with light in his eyes, revealing tenderness beneath his hardened exterior. But the moment wasn't without its challenges. As others rallied around them, the doubts that lingered became audible. What if something goes wrong? Someone called from the back. What if it all falls apart? Then we'll face it together. Michael replied, his voice ringing out with conviction. The crowd fell silent again, caught between lingering disbelief and the hope stirring deep within. Anna seized the moment. Michael has taken the first step, and so has Tom. We need to trust that we can work through the hard times. That's how we build a community. As voices of agreement began to rise, Anna felt a sense of momentum building. They were ready to move forward together. Tom shared a look with Michael, an unspoken understanding passing between them. "It's not just about us, is it? This is for everyone," he said, and the room shifted again, resonating with a growing sense of unity, echoing with shared pain and collective hope. Anna smiled, feeling the tide of change washing over them all. "So let us make a plan," she said, her voice steady and strong. "Together, we can create a space where healing is possible for everyone who has been touched by hurt. The crowd erupted with approval, voices intertwining in a chorus of encouragement and resolve. Anna felt the warmth spread through her, a fire ignited by their shared intentions. Healing wasn't just a distant hope, it was the air they breathed now, but as joy swept through, shadows still lurked. Anna noticed a few faces in the crowd, those clinging to the old ways, uncertainty still written in their postures. They had a long journey ahead, and not everyone was ready to join them. What happens when the first challenge comes? A voice piped up, uncertainty mingling with fear. Will we still stand together then? Michael drew in a deep breath, ready to meet the question head-on. But before he could respond, Anna felt a sharper anxiety grip her heart. She turned to Michael, finding strength in their connection. Trust is forged in fire, she thought, glancing at Tom, whose expression now mirrored a resolve that hadn't been there moments before. Together, we will stand, Michael said, his words carrying the certainty of someone who had faced darkness and emerged anew. And together, we will rise when testing comes. As nods of agreement spread through the crowd, Anna's heart soared with hope. But she could still see the chains of doubt on the fringes, waiting for another chance to wrap around their progress. What challenges lay ahead? Could they truly weather the storms they would face? Anna felt the thrill of uncertainty wash over her again. They had taken a step, but there was a long road still ahead, one that would truly test their hearts and their community. Are we ready? She whispered to herself, hoping the answer would echo back through the crowd. Would they be able to transform fear into unity time and again? The council hall buzzed with energy, the air thick with the scent of change and the weight of unmet expectations. Anna took a step back, releasing the tension from her shoulders as she looked at the crowd. Voices mingled in a hopeful cacophony, but a knot still twisted in her stomach. The road ahead was littered with uncertainties, and while they had taken one brave step forward, could they keep moving? Her gaze wandered across the faces of the hopefuls and the hesitant. Some beamed with renewed possibilities, while others wore expressions tightened by doubt. They were all part of this delicate fabric now, woven together by invisible threads of shared pain. She wished she could reassure them all, to say everything would turn out fine, but the truth felt more complicated. As the crowd stirred, Anna caught sight of Julia, a longtime skeptic with a history of bitterness that was hard to ignore. Julia's arms were folded, and her brow knitted tightly. Anna felt a pull in her chest. If only she could see what we see, Anna thought, a gentle sadness washing over her. We can't afford to let fear hold us back. Michael leaned closer, whispering softly, what if we create small groups? Something intimate to help people voice their concerns. It might ease the shift. His blue eyes shone with earnestness, the kind she had come to rely on. That's a great idea, she responded, stifling her early worries. A safe space where they can share fears without judgment. But just as she was about to voice a plan to the crowd, a voice erupted from the side. You think this is a game? It was Robert, an old-timer who had seen too much loss to trust. You think you can just wave a magic wand and everything will be all right? His words cut through the optimism, and the air chilled as the room fell silent again. Anna felt her heart race as she struggled to keep the mood from flagging again. No. We're not pretending, she replied, steadying her breath. But we're choosing hope over despair. Behind her, she sensed Tom standing straighter, a pillar of support. Robert, we're all carrying our own burdens. This is hard for everyone. But giving fear the final say doesn't get us anywhere. Can we at least try to change the narrative together? The intensity of his sincerity drew murmurs of agreement. Anna's heart swelled just a bit more. Maybe they could bridge this divide. She turned back to Robert. What if we make it clear that we want to hear everyone's voice, including yours? Every story matters. Robert's eyes softened slightly, but doubt still clung to him. And what if it doesn't work? He challenged, crossing his arms defiantly, looking into his eyes. Anna knew they had to be brave. Then we regroup, learn, and try again, she said, her voice unwavering. But we can't let fear paralyze us. A flicker of something possibly hope danced across Robert's face, but Anna felt the collective breath of the room. She realized there was a fine line between fear and courage. Sometimes, one moment of boldness could tip the scale. As murmurs filled the air again, cautiously optimistic, Anna glanced at Michael, who gave her a small smile of encouragement. Together, they were navigating uncharted waters, and the journey was daunting. But perhaps, if they held tight to their newfound strength, they could make it work. The more they talked, the more solid the connection seemed to grow. Yet, amidst the rising buzz, Anna couldn't shake the feeling of looming challenges. What if a new crisis sparked old wounds? Would there be enough trust left to carry them through if the past came rushing back? As the crowd began to assemble for the breakout sessions, Anna felt a torrent of emotion swell inside her: anticipation, fear, and that stubborn flicker of hope. They were on the brink of something transformative, but one misstep could send everything tumbling back. Can we truly hold on to our unity? She pondered silently. The echo of her fears reverberated within, leaving her to wonder what awaited them just around the corner. The night was still young, and their shared journey was only beginning to unfold. As the small groups began to form, Anna watched the crowd disperse. People clustered together, some with familiar faces, others venturing into uncharted conversations. It was like watching a dance unfold, a delicate choreography of hesitance and hope. She felt an electric energy in the hall, a pulse that seemed to promise connection and catharsis. "Let us pair up," Michael suggested, gesturing toward a group of 3. "We can facilitate the first session. Julia, how about you join us?" Anna glanced at Julia, whose arms remained crossed tightly. For a moment, she feared Julia would refuse, retreating deeper into that fortress she built around her heart. But then Julia unfolded her arms slowly. "Fine. I guess I could listen," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. Tom, eager to lighten the mood, chimed in. "We're just here to talk. Nothing heavy unless it's pizza." The playful joke drew a few chuckles, breaking the tension. Anna felt relief wash over her. Humor was a welcome balm in the face of uncertainty. As they settled into their grouping, Anna noticed how apprehension wrapped around the room like a fog. They started with introductions, sharing names and something light-hearted. The challenge was to peel back the layers, to get to the hearts of their fears and hopes. When it was Anna's turn to speak, her grip tightened around the small pad she held. "Let us try to be real with each other. We aren't here just to surface over the problems, but to figure out how we can move forward together." Julia shifted in her seat, the tension still clinging to her. What if things go wrong again? I've seen too much to believe that anything will ever change. Her words sliced through the atmosphere, an echo of shared history that many felt but few dared to voice. Anna took a deep breath. "I understand, Julia. But change is often the hardest thing to embrace. It might be scary, but it's also necessary. We've all lost, and it's okay to feel that." Something flickered in Julia's eyes, a shadow of vulnerability that hadn't been there before. As the discussions continued, Anna watched more barriers melt away. Stories flowed in a beautiful mix of vulnerability and resilience. A woman shared how she felt invisible after losing her job turned community role. A man recounted the heartbreak of leaving home to seek a life far away, only to realize the love he yearned for was right where he had started. Anna marveled at how voices, once filled with fear, began intertwining like threads in a tapestry. Each story added a splash of color, creating a more vivid picture of their community's heart. But amidst this warmth, Anna's heart still drummed with uncertainty. She remembered Robert's earlier concerns and realized they could easily slip back into fear. What if these moments opened old wounds instead of healing them? The session came to a close, and as Anna stepped back to catch her breath, she spotted Robert lingering at the edge of the hall, his arms still crossed, a medley of emotions flickering across his face. Anna felt a pull toward him, a need to connect. "Robert, can we talk?" she asked gently. He turned to her, surprise etched on his features. You trust 1D actually have something valuable to add? She shrugged, a smile breaking through her nerves. Your voice matters just as much as anyone else's. We're in this together, remember? As they walked toward an empty corner of the room, Anna felt the weight of her own fears. She knew opening this dialogue with Robert might do more than just seek his approval. It could bridge the gap between doubt and hope, but in the back of her mind, a nagging thought lingered: what if this conversation didn't go as she hoped? What if Robert couldn't overcome his fears? In the moment before she spoke, Anna felt the pulse of change all around her. And for the first time that night, she understood that hope and fear could walk hand in hand. Would they find a way to unite these two forces, or would old troubles shatter everything they had just built? Is it really worth trying again? Robert's voice broke the silence like a glass shattering against the ground. Fear and uncertainty mingled in the air. Anna studied his face, the furrow of his brow hinting at a conflict brewing beneath the surface. It has to be, she replied softly, her heart racing. If we don't at least try, we're just giving up before we even start. He looked away, staring at the crowd still buzzing with energy, laughter echoing intermittently. But what if it doesn't work? What if all this changes nothing? Then we adapt, Anna said, pulling him back to her gaze. Change isn't about success or failure, it's about growth. We have to believe that something good can come from this. The weight of her words seemed to hang between them, bobbing on the tips of hope. Robert sighed, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture filled with hesitation. He finally met her eyes, and she could see the storm of emotions swirling within. I've lost faith in a lot of things, Anna. You don't understand how hard it is to keep putting yourself out there. I know, she whispered, her voice laced with empathy. But sometimes we have to be brave, even when we're scared. Just look at everyone around us, they're sharing some pretty painful stories, opening wounds we didn't even know were there. They're doing it because they want to heal. Can't you see how important this is? He dragged a hand over his face, a sign of surrender to the weight of her argument. I don't want to get hurt again. The vulnerability in his voice broke her heart, even while igniting a flicker of determination within her. Neither do any of us. She took a step closer, her voice firm but soft. But that fear doesn't have to hold us hostage. It can teach us. It can guide us. And you're not alone in this, we're all in it together. Robert inhaled deeply, the tension in his shoulders loosening just a fraction. She could see him processing, searching for a way to let hope and honesty into his guarded heart. I guess I've just been so afraid, he finally admitted, a quiver in his voice. Afraid of opening up, afraid of what others think, afraid I won't measure up. And that's okay. But you can measure up simply by being yourself, Anna urged, stepping fully into the moment. This isn't about performance, this is about connection, sharing pain and joy. Letting others in. We really need you, Robert. His expression softened, shadows giving way to a glimmer of understanding. What if I try and still fall flat? Then we'll pick you up, she said, a boldness resonating through her confidence. We'll pick each other up. You don't have to be perfect, just real. That's what this gathering is all about. He shifted, visibly wanting to unravel the tight knot of fear in his chest, but still clinging to old habits of avoidance. I'm not sure. Before he could finish, laughter erupted from a nearby group. Words spilled over with relief, grief, and catharsis. The sound washed over them, a reminder that healing wasn't a straight path. It was messy, unpredictable, but filled with moments of joy and connection. Robert, you've been sitting on the sidelines long enough, Anna continued, feeling a swell of courage push her forward. It's time to join the dance, to be part of this collective story. Let's change the narrative together. He looked at her, hesitation still sparking behind his eyes, yet Anna saw something else, a flicker of willingness. Okay, he finally said, barely above a whisper. I'll try. In that moment, as hope cracked open the shell of his uncertainty, Anna felt lighter. But as they turned to rejoin the group, ready to face whatever might come. A sudden shout rang out from across the room. "Wait! We need to talk about what happens next." The voice cut through the laughter, a crack of urgency amid the warmth. Eyes shifted, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Anna glanced at Robert, both of them sharing a moment of silent anxiety. Their tentative progress felt somehow suspended, as if the next words could dismantle everything they were beginning to build. What new fears lay ahead? Would they navigate this next obstacle together? The crowd's chatter faded to an expectant hush as all eyes turned toward the voice. A figure stood, silhouetted against the colorful backdrop of the gathering. It was Sarah, a woman whose energy could lift a room and whose insight often found unexpected pathways into the hearts of others. "Everyone," she called out, her voice steady yet charged with urgency. "We need to take a moment. We've all come here seeking connection, healing, but too often, we forget the power of our stories." Anna felt a tightening in her chest. The warmth of hope that had ignited just moments before now warped with uncertainty. Robert's foot tapped nervously against the floor, his eyes darting between Sarah and the crowd. "What do you mean?" A voice chimed in from the back, holding a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Sarah looked around, searching for understanding. "I mean, we've shared the good, the hurt, and the healing, but have we truly shared our stories? Have we let ourselves be seen in our rawness?" A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd, and Anna could see the unease settling back in. She squeezed Robert's hand to ground him. "Let us get real," Sarah continued, her tone shifting to one that edged towards coaxing. "Let us talk about what happened after the moments we've shared tonight. Because those moments hold weight. They don't end the second we leave this room." Anna bit her lip, feeling the weight of every pair of eyes turning back to her. It was as if the spotlight zeroed in, tracking down her very soul. "Like what happens next?" Robert whispered, voice laced with dread. He wasn't just uncomfortable, he was caught in the fiery grip of anxiety. Change was looming. Anna took a deep breath, steadying herself. Maybe it's sharing what we fear the most. What we're afraid will happen down the road once we let others in. The crowd seemed to lean in, the collective breath held tight as if Anna's words were a thread pulling everyone together. "Yeah, but what if we fall apart after this? What if our truths push people away instead of bringing them in?" Robert's words quivered with vulnerability. He was taking a step forward, a crack in his armor, but the fear still lingered, powerful and alive. "That's the risk, isn't it?" Anna replied, pain flaring in her chest as she struggled to find the right words. "But isn't that what makes us human? The fear of rejection? The pain of losing each other? That's real. And, if we're honest, we'll probably experience it." A soft gasping sigh echoed from the edge of the group, and tiny swells of understanding began blooming in shared expressions. It was the kind of question everyone had on their minds, but no one wanted to voice. Sarah stepped closer, sensing the shifting energy. "What if, instead of falling apart, we rise together? What if, by being honest about those fears, we break the cycle of isolation?" The room buzzed with unspoken agreement, the pulse of hope weeping through their vulnerability. Robert glanced at Anna, uncertainty still etched on his face, but beneath it, something glimmered, a kind of strength in acknowledging fragility. "I say we give it a try," he finally said, his voice rising above the gathering hum. "Let us share our stories, the good and the bad. Together. Even if it's messy." Anna's heart hammered in her chest, but there was relief in Robert's willingness to step forward, to brave the unknown. It felt electric, contagious, and suddenly the crowd erupted with murmurs of agreement. "Yes. Let us do it. Let us share." But just as the warmth of camaraderie enveloped them, another voice broke through the enthusiasm. "But what if I can't? What if my story isn't enough?" It was a trembling voice from the back, injecting doubt back into the room as if reminding everyone that courage could easily be overshadowed by fear. The tension crackled, drawing them all back into uncertainty. Anna looked at Robert, and they shared a brief, silent exchange that said more than words could ever convey. Would they really go there? Would they transform their fears into something beautiful? Let us talk about those fears more, she finally said, forcing the uncertainty into the spotlight. This is only the beginning. She couldn't help but wonder if they were ready for the depths that awaited them. What would be revealed once they truly peeled back the layers? Would vulnerability bring them closer, or would it threaten to tear them apart? The atmosphere thickened as more people began to speak up, sharing the shadows that loomed over their hearts. It was the kind of moment that felt like standing on the edge of a massive wave, holding your breath, unsure of whether it would support you or crash down in chaos. I'm not sure where to even start. The voice belonged to a young man, his hands trembling as he clutched a crumpled napkin. I've never done this. I always hide. No one's rushing you, Sarah said, softening her gaze, encouraging him with a nod. Just share what feels right. We're all here to listen. The young man swallowed hard, the room held in a delicate silence as he finally began. I lost my job last year and it made me question everything. I thought I was, good enough. And without that job, I felt like I lost part of who I was. His voice wavered as raw emotion poured forth. There were days when I couldn't even get out of bed. Everyone in my life kept saying I should be strong, but I felt so weak. The crowd leaned into his words, their faces painted with empathy. Anna felt a tight flutter of connection, a thread woven between their shared experiences. She squeezed Robert's hand tighter, the warmth flowing between them anchoring her. What if we can't go back to who we used to be? Another voice chimed in, and that fear echoed louder than ever. What if this is it? What if we just keep losing? Robert shifted beside her, his shoulders tense. But what if we can build something new? Something better? His voice was a soft plea, desperation mingling with hope. If we open up, maybe we can come together and find a way forward. Even if it hurts at first. A murmur of agreement resonated, but there was still hesitance. Anna watched as different faces fell into a spectrum of emotions. Hope flickered alongside fear, like shadows dancing in the dim light. It's not easy to stay open, a woman said quietly, brushing a tear away. We've all built walls to protect ourselves. Letting people in again feels daunting. Exactly. Another person chimed in, their voice growing stronger. I've lost friendships because I chose to hold back. What if sharing only makes things worse? Anna felt her heart race as she plunged deeper into the sea of shared vulnerability. But maybe that's where the magic lies, she urged. In the unguarded moments. That's where we find real connections, the ones that can lead us to healing despite the hurt. The energy shifted. They were all peeling back pieces of their armor, revealing raw emotion, fear intermingling with courage in an unseen dance. All right, let us think about this, Robert said, shifting to face the crowd. What if we open with just a small part of our stories? We start easy, baby steps. Together. A nodding heads began to ripple through the audience, and Anna felt more sparks of connection. I'll go next, the young man who spoke earlier said, summoning unexpected bravery. I never shared this before, but, my father walked out on us when I was a kid. I guess I always thought it would shape me into someone tough. But really, I was just scared of being abandoned again. I think it's why I push people away. A collective breath hitched in the room, and it felt like something was igniting. Stories, fears, and heartaches became threads weaving a larger quilt of shared experience, each thread holding beauty in its imperfections. But just as the tide began to swell, moments of hope weaving through the doubts, another voice broke through the rising energy. But what if we get hurt again? What if this takes us down paths we can't come back from? The crowd fell into an uncertain hush. Each heartbeat echoed the challenge. Would they really be able to tread into the depths of their pain? Or would they find themselves drifting apart, lost to the fears they dared not confront? As Anna's heart raced, she felt the daunting weight of that question linger in the air. Could they keep going? Would their willingness to be vulnerable open new doors, or threaten to fracture the fragile bond they'd barely begun to build? The journey was stretching out ahead of them, but the path remained shadowy and uncertain. Would they choose to forge ahead together, or retreat back into their separate corners? Only time would tell. As they stood together in the dim light of the council hall, the air buzzed with a tangible mixture of hope and apprehension. Anna looked around at the faces of her community, some illuminated with understanding, others still shadowed by doubt. "Listen," she began, her voice rising above the murmur of uncertainty. "The fear of being heard is real, but we all have scars. They are proof that we've lived. Every story shared tonight is a step towards healing, not just for us, but for our future generations." Something shifted in the room. Anna saw heads nodding, the flicker of agreement sparking like new flames. One brave woman stepped forward, her voice trembling but fierce. "I thought I was alone in my struggles. I lost my brother to war, and I've carried that pain like a weight on my chest. You all inspire me to share, to not hide away anymore." Tears glistened in her eyes, and Anna felt her own well up in response. "Exactly," chimed in the young man who had first spoken about losing his job. "It's okay to be vulnerable. We might just find strength in each other's stories." The room seemed to swell with a profound energy, voices melding and intertwining like threads in a tapestry. Everyone seemed to share something small, a piece of themselves, a childhood memory of laughter, an adult moment of despair. "I used to believe that silence would protect me," Robert admitted, leaning forward. "But now, I see that it only isolates us. I've lost so much by keeping my feelings locked away." "Let us lock arms against that isolation," Anna urged, her heart racing with every word. "We can create a community that lifts each other up. This is our turning point." With every confession, walls began to crumble. People connected, shared laughter and tears, and soon it felt like a forge of understanding, where love could be crafted from their collective experiences. A voice from the back interrupted softly. "What if this new friendship actually works? What if we really heal?" "Yes." The crowd echoed, a ripple of hope threading through them. "Then let us make a pact," Anna declared, her spirit ignited. "To stay open, to support each other, and to remember that every step forward, however small, is a victory." Nervous laughter erupted, as the tension melted into warmth. People began to step forward, and one by one, they clasped hands, forming a circle that pulsed with unity and determination. As Anna looked around at those entwined fingers, she felt a swell of pride. They were ready to combat fear with trust, to create something deeply rooted in love. At that moment, Michael turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You did this, Anna. This is your courage lighting the way." "No," she said, beaming. "This is our courage. Together." The circle tightened. "Let us not just talk about this," a voice suggested. "Let us establish monthly gatherings. A safe space for all of us to share experiences as we navigate life together. Can we do that?" Cheers erupted, and Anna's heart soared. "Yes. A safe haven for healing, support, and growth. We can share stories, plan events, work together." The room buzzed with excitement as plans began to take shape. For the first time in what felt like ages, there was a clear path ahead, illuminated by their collective willingness to embrace everything they had once feared. The energy shifted, settling into heartfelt conversations and laughter. Joy danced in the corners, transforming the hall into a sanctuary. As the night drew to a close, Anna stepped back, surveying the lively exchanges. She spotted Robert animatedly discussing future plans with another member of the community, his initial hesitation now washed away by camaraderie. She smiled. The transformation was blossoming into something beautiful. With the last glimmers of daylight fading outside, whispers of gratitude filled the air. Each face radiated renewed purpose. As Anna took her seat, surrounded by friends new and old, she could feel something profound settle within. They had chosen love over fear, acceptance over judgment. And together, they would rise, creating tomorrow in a way that would reflect the compassion they cultivated tonight. Anna sighed contentedly. They had embarked on a journey, and they would traverse it hand in hand. This was not just a moment, it was the start of a movement. So, dear friends, if this journey reminded you of the power of community, compassion, and shared stories, you need to subscribe now. Hit that like button now to let us know you believe in these values. We want to hear your thoughts. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this transformative finale. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing transformation. Together, we can spread hope.